My beloved brothers and sisters, sometimes Allah allows a heart to break, not to destroy it, but to rebuild it stronger than it has ever been. She thought she was finished. She thought the pain had defeated her. But what she did not realize was that Allah was preparing her for a strength she could not have developed in comfort. What feels like breaking may actually be rebuilding. What feels like loss may actually be hidden mercy. And when Allah reconstructs a soul, He does so in a way that no hardship can ever shake it again. From broken to strong, this is not the end of her story. It is the beginning of Allah's elevation. My beloved brothers and sisters, understand this clearly. Nothing happens in your life without purpose. Not a single tear falls without being known to Allah. Not a single hardship strikes you without passing through His permission. When Allah allows you to face a trial, it is never random and it is never careless. There is always wisdom, even if you cannot see it immediately. Allah tells us that we will be tested with fear, with hunger, with loss of wealth, with loss of lives, and with loss of what we love. These tests are not signs that Allah dislikes you. They are not evidence that you have been abandoned. They are part of the journey of every believer. Trials are woven into the fabric of faith. Without them, growth would remain shallow. Sometimes Allah removes something you leaned on too heavily. Perhaps it was a person whose approval mattered too much. Perhaps it was a job that became your identity. Perhaps it was a plan you believed would guarantee your happiness. When that support is suddenly taken away, you feel unstable. You feel as though the ground beneath you has shifted. But in reality, Allah is teaching you something powerful. Your true stability was never meant to rest on creation. It was always meant to rest on Him. You thought that individual was your source of strength. You felt secure because they were there. You believed that without them you would collapse. Then Allah allowed distance to happen. And in that space of separation, you discovered something surprising. You discovered that you were still breathing, you were still standing, you were still functioning. And slowly you realized that the strength sustaining you was not that person, it was Allah all along. You believed that opportunity defined your future. You imagined your life unfolding in a specific way. You tied your hopes to it. When it disappeared, you felt shattered. But Allah sees beyond the immediate moment. He sees where that road would have led. He knows what you do not know. Perhaps that path carried difficulties you were not ready for. Perhaps it would have distracted you from something better. When Allah redirects you, it is not to confuse you. It is to protect your journey. When something breaks in your life, it reveals what you were relying upon. It exposes attachments that quietly grew stronger than your reliance on Allah. And once those attachments are shaken, you are gently pushed back toward your Creator. You return to your prayer with urgency. You raise your hands with sincerity. You begin to speak to Allah not as a routine, but as a necessity. That return is powerful. Breaking is not comfortable. It can feel overwhelming. It can make you question yourself. It can make you feel vulnerable in ways you did not expect. But vulnerability before Allah is not weakness. It is humility. And humility is the doorway to strength. When Allah allows your heart to crack, it is often because something inside needed to be cleansed. Perhaps pride had entered quietly. Perhaps overconfidence replaced gratitude. Perhaps dependence on people grew stronger than dependence on Him. Trials purify intentions. They strip away illusions. They bring you back to what truly matters. Consider this. If everything always went your way, would you turn to Allah with the same intensity? If every plan succeeded, would you feel the same need for dua? Ease can sometimes create distance. Hardship often creates closeness, and closeness to Allah is the greatest gift a believer can receive. When you break, you begin to see your own weaknesses clearly. You recognize your fears. You acknowledge your limitations. You understand that you are not in control of everything. That realization is not meant to crush you. It is meant to correct you. It shifts your perspective from self-reliance to reliance on Allah. Allah does not expose your weakness to embarrass you. He exposes it to strengthen you. A doctor identifies illness to treat it. In the same way, Allah allows certain struggles to surface so that your heart can be healed. He allows you to feel the weight of your dependence so you can redirect it properly. You may ask, why did this have to happen? Sometimes the answer is simple, because you were capable of more than your comfort allowed. Comfort keeps you where you are. Trials push you toward who you can become. When something in your life breaks, it creates space, and in that space, growth begins. You learn patience in a way you never understood before. You learn gratitude for small blessings you once ignored. You learn resilience because you have no other choice but to move forward. My brothers and sisters, do not interpret breaking as destruction. Interpret it as development. Do not assume that because something ended, your story is finished. Allah is the best of planners. He sees the full picture while you see only a single frame. When Allah allows you to break, it is not to leave you shattered. It is to rebuild you on a foundation that cannot be shaken by people, by circumstances, or by disappointment. And once you are rebuilt upon reliance on Him, you become stronger than you ever imagined possible. Trust that the one who allowed the trial is also the one guiding you through it. And know with certainty, every crack in your heart is being shaped by the most merciful into a design of strength you will one day thank Him for. When you are standing in the middle of a storm, you do not see the bigger picture. You feel the wind pushing against you. You see the darkness around you. You hear the noise of uncertainty. In that moment, it is very difficult to believe that there is any mercy hidden inside what you are experiencing. Pain narrows your vision. It makes you focus only on what hurts. It convinces you that what is happening is purely negative. But understand something powerful. Allah's mercy is not always wrapped in ease. It is not always delivered in the form of immediate happiness. Sometimes His mercy arrives in ways that are quiet, subtle, and even uncomfortable. There are moments when you pray for something with full conviction. You ask Allah for it repeatedly. You imagine how beautiful your life will be once it arrives. Then suddenly it does not happen. You feel disappointed. You may even feel confused. You begin to wonder why your dua did not unfold the way you expected. There are relationships you tried to preserve with patience and effort. You invested your time, your emotions, and your hopes. Yet despite all of that, the relationship ended. You are left holding questions and memories, wondering what went wrong. There are plans you were certain about. You organized your future around them. You made decisions based on them. And then everything collapsed without warning. What you thought was stable turned out to be fragile. In those moments, it is natural to feel shaken. You may question yourself. You may question the situation. Some even begin to question whether Allah heard their dua at all. But this is where faith must rise above emotion. What if that delay was protection? What if that ending was shielding you from something you could not see? What if that collapse was not destruction but redirection? Allah sees the full path ahead of you. You only see the next step. You see the attraction of the opportunity. Allah sees the consequences attached to it. You see the affection of a person. Allah sees their long-term impact on your heart and your faith. You see the success of a plan. Allah sees whether it will bring you closer to Him or slowly pull you away. There are situations that appear good at the surface but carry hidden harm. There are environments that look promising but would have drained your iman over time. There are relationships that feel comforting but would have chipped away at your dignity. Sometimes Allah removes something early to prevent greater damage later. When you are inside the storm, you do not understand why the door closed. You only feel the pain of the closing. But years later, when clarity comes, you may realize that staying on that path would have cost you far more than leaving it did. You may discover that the person you were desperate to keep had qualities that would have brought long-term struggle. You may see that the opportunity you were chasing would have consumed your time, distracted you from worship, or pushed you into compromises you were not meant to make. You may recognize that what seemed perfect was actually misaligned with your purpose. Mercy is not always about being given what you want. Sometimes mercy is about being prevented from what could harm you. Prevention does not always feel pleasant. It can feel like rejection. It can feel like failure. But in reality, it is protection in motion. Consider this carefully. If Allah knows something will damage your akhirah, would He allow you to walk into it unchecked? If He knows a path will weaken your character or distance you from Him, would it not be mercy for Him to close it before you go too far? Sometimes mercy is loud and obvious. Sometimes it is quiet and disguised as disappointment. A delay may protect you from rushing into the wrong decision. A loss may free you from attachment to something temporary. A removal may clear space for something far better. You may not see it immediately. In fact, you often will not. But faith teaches you to trust that Allah's plan includes wisdom beyond your understanding. It teaches you that what appears negative can carry hidden goodness. There is a powerful difference between punishment and purification. A believer's hardship is not meant to destroy them, it is meant to refine them. It softens the heart, it increases humility, it strengthens reliance on Allah. It reminds you that this world is temporary and that true success lies in the hereafter. When something painful happens, instead of asking only, why did this happen to me? Also ask, what might Allah be protecting me from? That question changes your perspective. It shifts your heart from resentment to reflection. You may not know the full details of what you were saved from, but you can trust that Allah's knowledge is complete and yours is limited. He sees what you do not see. He knows what you do not know. Mercy is not always about comfort. Sometimes mercy is about prevention. It is about guarding your faith. It is about preserving your dignity. It is about steering you away from something that would have hurt you more deeply in the future. So when you are inside the storm and you cannot see the mercy, remind yourself that the one who controls the storm is also the most merciful. The wind may feel strong, the darkness may seem overwhelming, but beyond it there is wisdom unfolding. And one day when the sky is clear, you may look back and say with sincerity, Alhamdulillah, for what did not happen. Understand something very important. Real strength is not formed in moments of comfort. It does not grow when everything is going your way. It is not developed when people are applauding you, supporting you, and making life easy for you. True strength is built quietly, often in isolation, often in moments when no one else sees what you are carrying. When life is smooth, anyone can appear strong. When there is no pressure, there is no resistance. But strength is tested when the pressure increases. It is revealed when you feel alone and still choose patience. It is shaped when your heart feels heavy, yet you continue to stand in prayer. It is refined when you are hurt deeply, yet you refuse to allow bitterness to settle inside you. There are nights when a person lies awake, overwhelmed by thoughts. There are days when the smile on their face hides exhaustion in their heart. In those moments, it is easy to surrender to negativity. It is easy to withdraw from worship. It is easy to question everything. Yet the believer who continues to hold on to salah, who continues to make dua, who continues to say Alhamdulillah, even through tears, that believer is building strength that no one can measure. Patience is not passive. It is not weakness. It is active restraint. It is choosing obedience when disobedience feels easier. It is controlling your reaction when anger would feel justified. It is trusting Allah when your emotions are unsettled. That type of patience transforms you from within. When you cry in sujood and ask Allah for relief, do not think of yourself as broken. In that position, you are at your strongest. You are placing your forehead on the ground in humility before the one who controls the heavens and the earth. You are acknowledging that you cannot carry everything alone. And that acknowledgement is not weakness, it is wisdom. Sujood is where the heart realigns. It is where your worries are transferred to the one who never becomes tired. It is where your confusion meets divine clarity, even if you do not immediately see the answers. Every tear shed in sincere prayer strengthens your connection with Allah, and that connection becomes your foundation. When your foundation is built upon reliance on Allah, no storm can uproot you. Storms may shake you, they may challenge you, they may test your patience, but they will not destroy you, because your roots are deep, and deep roots are formed in silent struggle, not in public success. Allah sometimes reduces the noise around you. He removes certain people. He allows distance to occur. He creates circumstances that feel isolating. At first, you may interpret that isolation as loneliness, but perhaps it is intentional space designed for reflection. When distractions decrease, clarity increases. When constant conversation is replaced with quiet, you begin to hear your own thoughts more clearly. More importantly, you begin to hear the reminders of Allah more clearly. The Quran feels different when you are searching for guidance. Dua feels deeper when you are desperate for relief. Isolation can become elevation if you use it correctly. There are phases in life where Allah pulls you away from the crowd so that your focus returns to what truly matters. When you are constantly surrounded by opinions, expectations, and comparisons, it is easy to lose sight of your purpose. But in quiet moments, your priorities are reorganized. You begin to evaluate what truly deserves your energy. Growth does not always announce itself. It often happens internally. You may not notice it immediately. Others may not see it at all. But slowly your reactions change. Situations that once overwhelmed you no longer shake you in the same way. Words that once hurt deeply no longer have the same power over you. You respond with calm instead of chaos. That transformation is strength. Strength is not loud. It does not need validation. It does not demand recognition. It is steady. It is controlled. It is anchored in trust. When Allah allows you to experience quiet struggle, He is preparing you for stability. He is teaching you how to stand firm even when external support is limited. He is showing you that your value does not depend on constant reassurance from others. It depends on your relationship with Him. Sometimes Allah takes away the comfort of people so that you discover the comfort of His presence. Sometimes He removes distractions so that your attention returns to your purpose. Sometimes He allows you to feel alone so that you realize you were never truly alone. In silence, you begin to understand yourself better. You recognize your triggers. You confront your fears. You learn to regulate your emotions. You begin to rely less on others for validation and more on Allah for strength. And this growth, though invisible to many, is powerful. Do not underestimate the strength you are building in private. Do not think that because no one sees your effort, it has no value. Allah sees it. Every time you choose patience instead of anger, every time you choose forgiveness instead of revenge, every time you choose prayer instead of despair, you are building a character that cannot be easily shaken. Strength is built in silence because silence forces you to rely on what is internal, not external. It forces you to develop discipline, sincerity, and trust. And once those qualities are rooted in your heart, they remain with you long after the storm has passed. Remember, the strongest trees are those whose roots grew deep beneath the surface, unseen by the world. Likewise, the strongest believers are those who endured quietly, prayed sincerely, and trusted deeply. May Allah grant us strength that is not dependent on circumstances, but grounded in faith. And may He allow the silent struggles we endure to become the very reason we stand firm when others cannot. Many people misunderstand the meaning of strength. They assume that strength is the absence of pain. They think that a strong person does not cry, does not struggle, does not feel disappointment. But that is not how Allah created us. We are human beings with emotions. We feel joy, sadness, fear, hope, and grief. These feelings are not signs of weakness. They are part of our design. True strength is not about avoiding pain. It is about facing pain and still choosing obedience. It is about feeling your heart ache and still standing in prayer. It is about being disappointed and still saying Alhamdulillah with sincerity. It is about losing something valuable and still trusting that Allah's decree is better than your plan. There is a powerful difference between emotional pain and spiritual defeat. Emotional pain is natural. Spiritual defeat happens only when you allow hardship to pull you away from Allah. As long as your connection to Him remains intact, you have not lost. You are still strong. When Allah rebuilds a person, He does not simply give them a replacement for what they lost. He transforms them internally. He reshapes their perspective. He strengthens their patience. He deepens their trust. The rebuilding process is not just about external blessings. It is about internal elevation. You may enter a trial feeling fragile. You may feel as though your world has collapsed. But as the days pass and you continue to rely on Allah, something changes inside you. Your mindset begins to shift. You no longer react impulsively to every difficulty. You pause, you reflect, you respond with more wisdom. Resilience is not something you are born with. It is something developed through experience. Every hardship you endure adds another layer of stability to your character. You begin to understand that discomfort is temporary. You realize that no situation remains the same forever. This awareness brings calmness. Tawakkul, or reliance on Allah, becomes stronger when you have witnessed His help in your darkest moments. When you have cried in desperation and later seen relief arrive in unexpected ways, your trust grows. The next time you face a difficulty, you remember that Allah carried you before. That memory becomes a source of confidence. What once shattered you may no longer have the same effect. A rejection that would have devastated you years ago now feels manageable. A criticism that once hurt deeply now passes without leaving a scar. This is not because you have become cold or indifferent. It is because you have matured spiritually. Spiritual power is quiet. It does not need to prove itself. It is visible in your reactions. It is visible in your patience. It is visible in the way you handle disappointment. Instead of panic, there is perspective. Instead of anger, there is restraint. Instead of despair, there is hope. When you lose something you loved and still choose to trust Allah, you are demonstrating strength. When you are tested and still protect your salah, you are demonstrating power. When you are hurt and still refuse to harm others in response, you are demonstrating growth. Allah does not waste hardship. Every trial is an opportunity to purify your heart. It removes arrogance. It softens pride. It reminds you of your dependence on your Creator. These lessons cannot be learned fully in times of ease. Comfort teaches gratitude, but hardship teaches depth. The person who enters a trial is often different from the one who leaves it. Before the hardship, you may have relied heavily on people's opinions. After the hardship, you rely more on Allah's approval. Before the difficulty, you may have been attached to outcomes. After it, you focus more on effort and intention. You become less attached to what is temporary. You begin to see the dunya for what it is, a place of testing, not permanent satisfaction. Your heart shifts toward the akhirah. You think more about what truly matters. You prioritize your faith differently. Wisdom grows through experience. When you have endured pain, you understand others more deeply. You become more compassionate. You judge less quickly. You offer advice with empathy rather than arrogance. Your suffering teaches you humility. Calmness replaces panic because you have seen how quickly circumstances can change. You know that today's difficulty can become tomorrow's relief. This understanding brings stability to your emotions. Spiritual power does not mean you never struggle again. It means that when you struggle, you know where to turn. You know that Allah is near. You know that dua is powerful. You know that patience carries reward. There is something remarkable about a believer who emerges from hardship with their faith intact. They walk differently, not with pride, but with quiet confidence. They have faced storms and survived. They have experienced loss and remained anchored. Their trust in Allah is no longer theoretical, it is lived. Pain refines you. It removes what is unnecessary. It clarifies what is essential. It shifts your focus from fleeting pleasures to lasting success. You begin to measure your life not by what you possess, but by how close you are to Allah. Emotional pain is not the end of you. It can be the beginning of your spiritual power. When handled with faith, it transforms you. It strengthens your resolve. It deepens your sincerity. And when Allah rebuilds you, He rebuilds you with purpose. He does not return you to your previous state. He elevates you beyond it. You become wiser because you have learned. You become calmer because you have endured. You become more focused on the eternal because you have experienced the fragility of the temporary. That is true strength. That is spiritual power. And it is granted to those who choose obedience even when their hearts are hurting. May Allah make our pain a means of elevation and our hardship a source of closeness to Him. Sometimes the very experience that humbled you is the one that elevated you. At the time, you did not see it that way. You felt small. You felt disappointed. You felt as though something had been taken from you unfairly. But in reality, Allah was raising you in ways that were not visible to the eye. Elevation is not always immediate. It does not always come with applause or recognition. Often, it happens quietly within the heart. Allah raises the ranks of those who endure with patience, those who remain grateful despite loss, and those who choose obedience when disobedience seems easier. When hardship humbles you, it strips away arrogance. It reminds you that control belongs to Allah alone, that humility is not weakness, it is purification. And when your heart is purified, it becomes lighter, softer, and more receptive to guidance. That is elevation. You may have lost something that meant a great deal to you. Perhaps it was a relationship that you thought would last. You invested time, effort, and emotion into it. When it ended, it felt painful. But through that pain, you may have rediscovered your self-respect. You may have learned not to compromise your values for the sake of approval. You may have realized that your worth does not depend on someone else's acceptance. That realization is elevation. Perhaps you lost an opportunity you worked hard for. You imagined how your future would look once you achieved it. When it slipped away, you felt defeated. But through that disappointment, you gained clarity. You understood that your identity is not tied to a title or position. You recognized that Allah's plan is broader than your ambition. That awareness is elevation. Perhaps you lost comfort. Your routine was disrupted. Stability was shaken. You were forced to adapt. But in that discomfort, you found closeness to Allah that you had not experienced before. You prayed more sincerely. You reflected more deeply. You felt your dependence on Him more strongly. And that closeness is more valuable than any comfort you left behind. Elevation in Islam is not measured by how many people know your name. It is not measured by wealth, status, or influence. True elevation is measured by your nearness to Allah. It is measured by the sincerity of your heart, the depth of your patience, and the strength of your trust. There are people who appear successful in the dunya but are spiritually distant. There are others who endure hardship quietly yet are honored in the sight of Allah. Which position is truly elevated? When hardship brings you closer to Allah, you have gained more than you lost. You may not see it in material terms. You may not feel it immediately, but spiritually you have risen. Sometimes elevation happens because the hardship forced you to mature. It taught you discipline. It strengthened your resilience. It trained you to manage your emotions with wisdom rather than reaction. These qualities cannot be purchased. They are developed through experience. Consider how your perspective changes after a trial. Before, you may have worried about small matters. After enduring something significant, those smaller issues no longer disturb you in the same way. Your priorities shift. You focus more on what truly matters. That shift is growth. Allah replaces what is taken with something better, even if it arrives in a different form. You may not receive exactly what you wanted, but you receive what is more beneficial for your journey. Sometimes the replacement is internal strength. Sometimes it is a deeper connection to faith. Sometimes it is a new path that aligns more closely with your purpose. The elevation you did not expect may not look impressive to others. It may not come with visible signs, but internally you feel different. You feel steadier. You feel more grounded. You are less shaken by circumstances because you have learned that everything is temporary except your relationship with Allah. If your hardship taught you patience, you were elevated. If your loss taught you gratitude, you were elevated. If your pain brought you to sincere dua, you were elevated. Defeat is not defined by losing something in this world. Defeat happens only when a person loses their connection to Allah. As long as that connection remains strong, you have not been defeated. Do not only remember the pain, remember what they produced within you. Remember how they shaped your character. Remember how they increased your awareness of Allah's presence in your life. Elevation is sometimes hidden beneath humility. It is found in the quiet strength you develop after surviving what you thought would destroy you. It is present in the calmness you gain after chaos. It is visible in your reliance on Allah after realizing how limited human control truly is. You may not have expected to grow from that experience. You may not have anticipated becoming stronger through it, but Allah knows what you are capable of becoming. He sees potential within you that you may not see within yourself. And when He raises you, it is with purpose. So if your hardship brought you closer to Him, if it softened your heart, if it increased your patience, then understand this clearly. You were not pushed down, you were lifted up. That is the elevation you did not expect, and it is far greater than any worldly success. When a woman passes through hardship and Allah rebuilds her heart, she does not return to the same version of herself. She rises differently. She carries herself differently. She thinks differently. The pain that once seemed like it would destroy her becomes the very reason she stands with strength and clarity. Before the trial, she may have searched for validation in the words of others. She may have measured her worth by how she was treated, by who chose her, by who praised her. But hardship shifts that perspective. When the approval she once depended on disappears, she is forced to search for something more stable. In that search, she discovers that her honor was never tied to people. It was always tied to Allah. A woman rebuilt by Allah no longer chases attention to feel significant. She understands that dignity comes from her character, from her faith, from her obedience to her Creator. She knows that no human being has the authority to define her value. Her worth is established by the one who created her, and that realization brings freedom. She walks with quiet confidence, not because she believes she is superior, but because she knows what she has survived. She remembers the nights she thought she would not recover. She remembers the tears she shed in private. She remembers the moments when her heart felt heavy, yet she still chose patience. Those memories become evidence of her resilience. Confidence built on experience is different from confidence built on praise. It is steady, it is calm, it does not need constant reassurance. She no longer seeks approval from every direction because she has learned that pleasing everyone is impossible. Instead, she focuses on pleasing Allah, and that focus simplifies her life. Pain teaches lessons that comfort never could. Through hardship, she learns boundaries. She learns when to speak and when to remain silent. She learns that kindness does not mean allowing herself to be mistreated. She learns that forgiveness does not require returning to harmful environments. Wisdom grows through experience. When she speaks, her words carry depth because they are shaped by reality. She understands the emotions of others because she has felt them herself. She does not judge quickly because she knows how complex struggles can be. Her empathy is genuine and her advice is grounded in lived experience. Trust in Allah becomes stronger after witnessing His mercy in difficult moments. It is easy to say, I trust Allah when life is smooth. But when a woman has cried, struggled, and still seen doors open unexpectedly, her trust becomes rooted in evidence. She has seen how Allah replaces what is taken. She has felt relief after distress. That lived experience strengthens her tawakkul. She no longer fears delay in the same way because she understands that delay can carry protection. She no longer fears rejection in the same way because she understands that rejection can carry redirection. Her mindset shifts from panic to patience. Her breaking did not define her identity. It did not reduce her. It did not permanently weaken her. Instead, it refined her character. Refinement is a process. It removes impurities. It clarifies priorities. It shapes a stronger foundation. Every trial she faced carried a lesson. Some lessons taught her self-respect. Some taught her patience. Some taught her to rely less on people and more on Allah. Every delay she experienced carried wisdom. It slowed her down long enough to reflect. It prevented her from rushing into situations that were not right for her. It prepared her for something better. Every tear she shed carried reward. The Prophet ﷺ reminded us that even the prick of a thorn expiates sins. How much more so the tears shed in sincere dua, the nights of sleepless reflection, the moments of restraint when anger could have been expressed but was held back. A woman who rises after being broken understands that this world is not meant to be perfect. She does not expect a life without trials. She expects growth through them. She understands that challenges are part of the believer's journey. She becomes less attached to temporary praise and more attached to lasting righteousness. She becomes less concerned with impressing others and more focused on improving herself. Her energy shifts from seeking approval to seeking closeness to Allah. This transformation is powerful. It is not loud. It does not require public recognition. It is visible in her patience, in her composure, in her balanced reactions. It is visible in the way she handles disappointment with dignity. When she rises again, she does not rise with bitterness. She rises with clarity. She does not rise seeking revenge. She rises seeking peace. She does not rise to prove herself to people. She rises because Allah strengthened her from within. The woman who is rebuilt by Allah is a sign of His mercy. She demonstrates that hardship does not have the final word. She proves that faith can turn wounds into wisdom. She shows that breaking can be the beginning of becoming stronger than before. May Allah grant our sisters strength rooted in faith, wisdom shaped by experience, and confidence grounded in their relationship with Him. And may every woman who feels broken today realize that with Allah's help, she can rise again, stronger, wiser, and closer to her Creator than ever before. My beloved brothers and sisters, if you are listening today and you feel broken, do not mistake your current chapter for your final destination. Allah does not allow pain without purpose. He does not test a believer without intending growth. The cracks you feel in your heart may be the very places where His light will enter. You thought the story was ending, but Allah was only rewriting it. You thought you were losing, but He was preparing you. You thought you were falling apart, but He was building you from the inside, strengthening your faith, steadying your character, anchoring your trust. Remember this, what breaks you can either harden you or humble you. If it humbles you and brings you closer to Allah, then you have already won. Because true success is not measured by what you kept, it is measured by who you became. So rise with patience, rise with dignity, rise with tawakkul. Let your hardship become the evidence of your growth. Let your tears become the proof of your sincerity. Let your recovery become the sign of Allah's mercy in your life. And one day when you look back, you will not say, that destroyed me. You will say, that strengthened me. Because when Allah rebuilds a soul, He rebuilds it stronger than before. And no force in this world can undo what He has restored.